Hey everyone, and welcome back to Strategically Small. Here on this channel, we're going to be deep diving into minimalism, being very intentional in terms of downsizing your lifestyle, being more debt-free, allowing yourself to acquire more assets so that you can live a happier life that does not involve as many expenses and debts, and you can put yourself on a different path than what we have been taught traditionally. So if you're not familiar, here we are at this channel. I am currently in Africa, Rwanda specifically, and I recently moved here in March, and I'm just kind of chronicling my journey from how I started becoming more intentional with my lifestyle. So this video is going to give you just the background of how I arrived in Rwanda and into this lifestyle from the US until now. So let's get into it, and I hope you enjoy it. So to begin, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I am naturally a frugal person. I am into saving. I do not spend a lot of money. That is just my nature. That's just how I've always been. However, if I were to look back on my life and to just pinpoint where it now escalated into more of a lifestyle habit, I can say this definitely started when I moved to Africa for the first time. So just to give you a little bit of background, I previously was working for an international organization, and at the time I was just on contract. So I was contracting for them. Then they presented me with the opportunity to move to Africa just for a few months, just to do a project there. And of course I was like, sure, I would do that. Now, at the time, I was living in a townhouse that was 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And just to give you a little bit of background, before I purchased the townhouse, I already was not really in love with it. I felt that it was more room than I needed. I really wanted to get a 1-bedroom, and I just, for many reasons, decided to go with a 3-bedroom, but was it something that I needed? No. If you ask any of my family and friends, the townhouse itself was not really furnished at all. I furnished the downstairs, so I did buy a couch set, but the upstairs, the rooms were empty. Even my room, I did not fully furnish for a while. So it didn't really vibe with the lifestyle that I was transitioning into unconsciously, but you know, sometimes your soul does not connect with something, and at that time, the house that I was living in, I didn't feel connected to it. On top of that, I spent a lot of time cleaning the place, which took up a lot of my time on the weekend, and I did not like that. First of all, I wasn't using most of the rooms. I only used the 1 room, but I still spent a lot of time cleaning the place, and overall, I was not happy with that. I wanted to have a smaller space, but you know, you live and you learn, and if I were to reverse time and go back, of course I would have gotten a smaller place initially. And then on top of all of the pain of cleaning the place every week, the utility bills I found were very, very high and expensive. And of course, as you know, because I'm a frugal person, I don't like that. Off the jump, I'm not with that, okay? Just on average, I remember my electric bill would be on the low side, it would be $150. On the high side, in the summertime, if you're running the air conditioning and all that, that bill can easily go up to $250, depending on your usage and how much you're using it. So that was just for the electric. Then I still had to pay the water. I had a condo fee I had to pay. So for me, I was not feeling any of that at all. And immediately I regretted that decision to purchase that size home, because it's not a size home that I needed. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I don't need a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I think the main impetus for me making that decision was because I was thinking of resale value. So I was thinking if I have a larger place, then it can appreciate more over time, and I would also get better value when it came to resale. However, it just didn't vibe with me. It just doesn't go with my lifestyle overall, right? So that's to sum that up. So when the opportunity now was presented to me to move abroad, even if just for a couple of months, I only had a few days to make a decision. And of course, I said yes immediately, right? So I had 2 suitcases, just 2 large suitcases that I packed up, and then 1 small carry-on that I took with me. That is it. I didn't pay for any extra baggage to take with me because I said this is an adventure. I want to focus on work. This is not me, focusing on anything else outside of the project. And while I was there in Johannesburg for the 3 to 4 months, I really realized that, okay, not only do I not miss any of the items that I left behind, I realized that actually I could survive on what I brought with me in those 2 suitcases. It literally changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I was already heading in that direction, as you could see from before, but that's what really snapped it into place in my mind, was that, okay, not only do I feel more comfortable with less, but I felt happier with less. I don't need many things. When I was in Johannesburg, I was renting a 1-bedroom apartment. I felt happier in the 1-bedroom apartment. There was less to clean. Obviously, it's less bills. Of course, I'm not paying bills in terms of electric and water separately because that was included in the rent. But I realized that less actually for me personally means more happiness. And that is when the 2 met, right? So I really started to look at things from a different perspective from there, okay? So I was in Johannesburg for just a few months, came back to my house in the US, and I was there for also a few months before. Now I was presented with the opportunity to go back to Africa, this time to Kenya, and it was going to be on more of a long-term basis. Of course, immediately I was like, yes. First of all, I fell in love with Africa. Going to Johannesburg was not my first time in Africa. I had been to Ghana previously as a young adult, and I already knew I loved Africa. So although I had never been to Johannesburg initially, I jumped on it. Also, had never been to Kenya before I had to make the move. And I said, you know what? I already know I love Africa. Although every country in Africa is very distinctly different, I jumped on the opportunity. So coming to Kenya, I also was like, okay, now that I have a different mindset, I wanted to find a smaller space that could accommodate this new lifestyle that I wanted to take on, right? So not only that, I also did not want to have to purchase a car, a vehicle, because that also reduces your expenses, right? So when I moved there, I worked with a realtor to see if I could find something that was in walking distance to my office, but also would accommodate the smaller lifestyle. So I was looking for a 1-bedroom ideally. So based on what we could find, there was no 1-bedroom that was available that was in walking distance of my office, but there was a 2-bedroom available. So this was not what I would like ideally. However, it would accommodate me not having to have a car. So because I drive on the opposite side in Kenya as well. So I did not want to have to deal with that. And so I went with the 2-bedroom. So I was able to walk back and forth to work. Now, I was in Kenya for 4 years. So not having a car for 4 years saved me a lot of money. Not only because when I was doing other activities in terms of going out with friends or, meeting up at a restaurant, normally my friends would just come pick me up and, so I didn't have to take a taxi to go do those things. But for things like grocery shopping, I would only go grocery shopping once a week, and I would just get a taxi for those things. But for your everyday activities of going to work, coming back, or going to the gym, my gym was also in walking distance from where I lived. So I would do all of my main activities, the daily activities, I would just walk to them. So not only was I in better shape, but it saved me money overall. So that was part of the reducing your expenses lifestyle that I was getting into, right? Now, the 2-bedroom obviously was a little bit bigger than what I would have liked, but it ended up working out because I did have some family members that came to visit me while I was in Kenya for the 4 years. And now I was able to host them at my apartment because I had the extra room for them. So there was people, I had a total of 4 people that stayed with me at one time. So there was 5 of us in the apartment. So it worked out well in terms of that. But what I noticed is that I really liked the, number one, the less maintenance and the reduced expenses, okay? Again, in Kenya, the expenses were, the utilities were all included in the rent, so I didn't have to pay anything separate outside of the internet. I did have to pay for the internet separately, but your water and your electric and your gas, all of that was included in the rent. But yeah, I appreciated having less space, less clutter. The apartment that I rented was fully furnished, so I didn't have to buy any furniture or anything. So I literally, again, only took the 2 suitcases with me back to Kenya and the small carry-on. That was it. Now, over the course of 4 years, of course, I did acquire some African fabric items, some dresses, some skirts, things like that, that I did bring back with me to the US when I came back. But I appreciated just having less stuff. When I walked in the door, I felt less stress. I felt less overwhelmed by everything. And I got into more activities that I enjoy naturally. I got much more into cooking, living a healthier lifestyle. I started to exercise more because I was literally walking everywhere. And because I was walking everywhere, I found that I really enjoyed that. So I joined a gym that was local. So it changed not only my perspective on things, but it also changed my lifestyle slowly over time. So now, as I moved back home to the US 2014, after living in Kenya for 4 years, I specifically was intentional about not buying a place. First of all, I did not want to rent. That was the first thing, because renting is not allowing you to build your assets, right? Because you're providing money to somebody else and you're just giving it away to them, right? To the landlord. So I wanted to intentionally save my money and buy a very small space, okay, that I could find in the area. So I did a lot of research, and as you will see my channel, I always try to encourage people to do as much research as possible, okay? So before I left Kenya, I spent a good 8 months online researching places that not only were small in terms of square footage, but would fall within a price range that I could afford, that would be reasonable for my budget, okay? So when I came back home, I was able to purchase my 1-bedroom condo that was about 650 square feet before I came back to the US. I had to go to the embassy to get a power of attorney to allow my parents to sign on my behalf and purchase the home while I was still out of the continent. And once I got back home, I was able to just move right into the place. So I got a very small space. Now, 650 square feet for the US is very small, tiny space, okay? It was still a 1-bedroom, so it was not a studio, but I immediately was very happy with the square footage of the space. I felt, number one, it was less maintenance. Number two, less expenses, which is the highest priority for me, okay? So on average, my utility bills, my electric bill was on a high, like during the winter time, if you're running the heat, maybe $70 at maximum. Same thing in the summertime, maybe $75. But I kept my expenses low because the square footage was very low. My water and the gas was included in the condo fee, so that I didn't have to pay for separately, because that was included in the monthly fee I had to pay for the condo. So I was extremely happy with that space, and I lived in that space from 2014 until 2021. So over those course of those years, I became fully adjusted to this smaller space setting. Okay. Now, in 2020, when now I decided that, okay, I'm ready to move back to Africa permanently to live, I started to do research for a full year. And I'm going to link the video where I talk about research, the importance of doing that, because it's not just something that I, picked up overnight and I decided to do. No, I spent an entire year researching places to buy in Rwanda, because again, I came over here with the intention of not renting, but purchasing something that was affordable, reasonable, small, that I could now move into and not have to worry about a mortgage payment, nor worry about rent, and keep my utility bills low. Okay. So moving here, I spent a whole year looking at different countries. So I had not narrowed it down to Rwanda first. There are other countries that I was considering, Kenya being the first because I had lived there for 4 years. And I knew that studios in Kenya is definitely something that's very popular, okay? Because I did not want to get a 1-bedroom. I wanted to downsize even more coming back and look at getting a studio, okay? So studios here in Rwanda are not up and coming just yet. They're just now starting to get more on the scene. But in Kenya, because Kenya is much larger, in Nairobi specifically, studios are already very popular. It's everywhere, right? And they're quite affordable. So I knew that Rwanda was my first choice for many reasons. I will also link the video if you're interested to discover why I chose Rwanda over other countries. But my plan was to come here first. If I could not find a living situation that fell within my budget, then I would then transition over to Kenya, because I knew in Kenya I could find what I was looking for, right? And I love Kenya, by the way. There's nothing negative about Kenya. It's just that Rwanda sort of fits my lifestyle, my vibe a little bit more than Nairobi. So when I came here, immediately before I came, I connected with a realtor to have him send me some options. I told him this is the strict budget that I'm working with. Only send me options that fall within that budget. And if it's above it, I don't even want to see it. It's just not even going to be something that I consider, right? So within my budget, because it was small, there was only a few options. But luckily, I was able to find something that fell within that, and I was able to find the studio that you currently see that I am in. And if you want to see a little bit more about the studio, you can check out some of my previous videos, and I will be providing an update pretty soon about the whole furnished place. As you can see, I did get the curtains, and I have a few other things just to show you about the studio space. But yeah, luckily I was able to find this, and this studio, by the way, is the smallest space that I have ever lived in, okay? This is 33 square meters. In Africa, they do things by square meters, not square foot, right? But if you do the conversion over to square feet, it is roughly 350 square feet. I think it's 355, roughly, okay? So this is the smallest space I have ever been in, and I absolutely love it. I can't tell you how much I love it. I think that it just gives me such a sense of peace. When I walk in the door, I'm very calm. There's less maintenance, there's less cleaning to do. And I find that I enjoy just living in a small space. I don't know, it brings me happiness. I don't know how to describe it. Even though I will say it does take a little bit of adjustment. So I do have a sofa bed. So in the morning, for example, even when I was in my 1-bedroom in the US, if I'm honest, I would not make my bed every day. I would get out of bed and I would go about my day, and I would transition into the living room where I have another couch there. And, I would get started with work and go about my day. Here, if I get out of bed, I literally have no choice. You have to make the bed because you have to convert the bed back into the sofa. So it does help me to become a little bit more organized, keep things a little bit more tidy, because if your place here is untidy, it's very visible and evident immediately. So if I walk in the door and things are not in place, that contributes to my sense of feeling overwhelmed and stressed. So it helps me to stay tidy. Not that I was messy before, but certainly I was not doing things like making my bed up every day. Even in the kitchen space in my old house, maybe it wasn't as neat as it should be. So this allows me to keep everything nice and pristine. So I like it overall. So this is just the part 1 to just the introduction as to how I transitioned from, living your typical lifestyle in the US, which was your 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse, to now into a studio that is a tiny house space. Literally, it is under 500 square feet, which is the definition of a tiny house. My place is 355 square feet. So this is just the background, and I'm gonna, over the next couple of videos, give you more information that hopefully will be helpful to you. But I wanted you to get a sense as to why I chose this lifestyle, how it makes me happy, and then we're gonna also get into how going tiny, downsizing intertwines with reducing debt, living happier, and reducing your expenses overall, so that you can acquire more assets, do things that you really enjoy, vacation, and do all those things, build your investment portfolio. All right, so we'll get into those things later, but I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.